Welcome back to the Skinema podcast. This is episode 14, where today we're reviewing Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. This is kind of our second Christmas episode of the month. Hopefully we'll get to do one more for the month of December, but it's been a long time since we recorded. I think the last time we recorded was November 15th. Today is December 2nd. So it's been a while. I've been away for pretty much 2.5 weeks. Obviously, Jthon's been busy with school and work. We haven't really talked too much in those 2 weeks. So, Jthon, what's been going on? I know I'm going to yap for a little bit, but I'll let you take the stage right now. What's been going on?
I'm just the hamster in the wheel right now. Like, I'm just running around trying to get the energy going, where I thought I was done with my finals, but I'm not. So that was a great motivator for me. Yeah. Movie watching has picked up lately, which has...
Let me get your letterbox up.
I was about to say, because, I don't know, I've just been kind of going for it. Yeah, some new watches, some rewatches. Let's see, we last talked when...
15th of November.
Okay. Yeah, so I rewatched Fargo. Great holiday movie for me. I mean, I first watched this maybe like 3 years ago. It's a great film. It's one of my favorites now. I think I wouldn't say Letterboxd introduced me to this, but just I think the space, like, kind of, I don't know, it just made me more open to watching stuff, and the Coen brothers are some of my favorite directors, so I love checking this out every holiday. If you haven't seen it, I instantly would recommend it. Maybe not for the family by the fire with all the little kids around, but great movie.
You've seen it a few times, right?
Yeah, I think 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have it as a 4.5. Nick has it as a 4. Just great acting across the board. If you haven't seen it, I'll kind of briefly go into it. The plot is very, I guess, Hitchcock, in the sense that, like, there's a murder at place and there's a scheme to get a large amount of money, and that involves various people, including officers, sheriffs, bandits, like just all these people trying to get this money. And it makes for a fun movie, and it's surprisingly, like, kind of wholesome for me because it takes place in Minnesota, and you just get to see, like, all the local people. You hear their accents, which are pretty funny. And just the way they describe Steve Buscemi's character is pretty funny. They're like, you'll know him when you see him. Like, he's a funny-looking guy. And, yeah, I wouldn't rather talk about it too much longer if you haven't seen it, because I feel like your first watch will do more justice than me explaining it to you. But let's see. What else do we have here? Waiting. Yeah. So I want to say that I've watched this movie because I saw it on a website called Shot Deck, which, if you haven't heard of it, is kind of a resource for filmmakers to just see, like, storyboarding and stuff. And I thought it was very dated. I wouldn't say the humor, like, offended me, but let's just say I watched this with my grandparents, and it probably wasn't the best place to watch it with. It's very vulgar. This is one of what's his name? Ryan
Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds is, like, first roles in comedy, so you kind of see his early humor there, and him being a lead. I mean, there's not much to talk about emotionally here. Like, if you watch the movie, you'll know what I mean instantly. Like, you know that it's going to be a stupid film, which I'm on record saying I like stupid films, but I think this one was too stupid for me. I mean, it involves this restaurant of workers who are incompetent and make some questionable comments towards waitresses and stuff, and you can tell they don't give a shit about their jobs. And I'm not gonna spoil, but there's like this one like ritual that they do in the whole movie that like just kind of takes center stage, and it really shocked me off how stupid this one joke sprawled out into. But yeah, I think a coworker recommended me this film, and his taste in movies is showing. But it was fun, and
Yeah, that's a rough recommendation.
yeah, I don't know. Probably won't rewatch that. But I also got around to Wonka, which the Timothy Chalamet version, of course. But I like this movie. I can see how people think it can be a little overindulgent in the songs and just the grandness that it tries to sell you, but I enjoy it. I thought it was a good holiday movie. I really like what's his name as the Oompa Loompa, Hugh Grant. I think he provides some good comic relief while also paying respect and homage to the first Charlie and the Chocolate Factory movies. And I think Timothy Chalamet kills it here. I don't think it's his best role, but I think he certainly delivers, and he like provides some spirit here, which is much needed. I know you feel kind of similarly, Nick. You gave it a 3, I think.
3.5.
Okay. And last film, Inside Out 2, which I don't think every sequel needs to, like, kill the original and just be better. But I'm glad it exists. I think you have a very fun plot here with all the emotions in Riley's head, and obviously introduced to some new ones. Let's see. Yeah, I think, and I'm kind of gonna talk about this later. It's very fast paced, and it's something that I'm noticing a lot with big studio films that appeal to wide audiences, that they're trying to kind of get the pacing going and making sure everyone's engaged, and maybe that is due to our short attention spans. But I like this film. It gets very emotional, which is what you would expect from an Inside Out movie. I think it's not nearly as creative as the first film, but I think it does deal with some heavy subject matter, and it doesn't really pull any punches when it comes to that subject matter. It's well researched, and it's made me think about my own anxiety, which I think is mission accomplished for Pixar here. Yeah, Pixar. I almost thought it was a Disney movie for some reason, but yeah, I liked it, and I would recommend it to anyone kind of beginning that early stages of puberty. I don't think it's like too kiddie for Pixar, but I think I really would have liked to see if they not be more mature, but I guess dive even deeper into what they had. But no complaints here.
Before I kick it off to you, there's a couple things I wanted to ask you just because, like I said, it's been like 2.5 weeks since we really talked. There's three things I wanted to ask you, and you can speak to them however you want to. How was Thanksgiving break? Because I know obviously you've been working a bunch in school, so how was that time off? Talk about your new car a little bit, and what was the third one? What was the third one? Oh, what are you anticipating for the month of December in terms of movies that are coming out? Do you plan on seeing any?
Yeah, so Thanksgiving was good. I traveled to Chino Hills, which I did not run into LeVar Ball, but that would have been pretty cool. I still have leftovers in my fridge, which no diss to who was cooking that night, but me personally, I just get very, I don't know, I get anxious thinking about Thanksgiving leftovers. Let's see. Yeah, the new car. Kia Soul. Speakers bump, so that's all I could ask for. And it gets me places.
Well, talk about it. Yeah, talk about it a little bit. Cause I mean, you told me, but
Well,
it's
what do
a
you
pretty
want me
big
to talk about? I'm
milestone.
not going to drop the VIN number.
No, no. I mean, like, talk about how you were surprised with it, and obviously it's your first car, so I mean, it's a pretty big deal. Obviously, this happened over a month, almost a month ago now, but for the podcast, we haven't spoken about it.
Yeah, so I visited my grandparents and I had no clue what was going on, but I basically went down and we went out to eat, which I wasn't really expecting. And then I forget the conversation we had, but it just seemed like, I don't know, it didn't seem our usual conversation. And then we went upstairs and my grandpa said he has something for me. And then he goes up and he grabs this Amazon package and I open it and it's like a license plate cover and it has my favorite team, the Boston Celtics, over it for like your back license plate. And I was like, I didn't even, it didn't really click for me then. I was just in like a state of confusion, I guess. And then they pulled out the keys and then it all clicked. And I was just like, I wasn't sobbing in like tears or anything, but it definitely took a while for it to wash over me. And I'm like 21 years old. It's my first car. And you know me, Nick, like I walk everywhere. Like
Mm-hmm.
I would walk miles to get to places where like people usually don't do that. But I finally have a car and it feels pretty damn good. Like I've been driving around, spinning the block, speakers bumping. So
How's the parking situation at your house now? Because I think you said you had to figure that out, or no, you have a driveway there.
we have a garage in this house,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't have like street parking. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to get ticketed, so I don't leave it out
Yeah.
front. So I just leave it in the garage.
Oh, that's good.
And I just bought like a ton of mini accessories for the car for Cyber Monday. So I have like, maybe I'll show it in editing, but I have a little
Mm-hmm.
like hoodie for the gear shift. I know it's not like very visual for you, Nick, but I'll send it to you later. Yeah, I was thinking about putting a decal on it, but it's a Kia Soul, so. And as for December watches, um, there isn't too many that come to mind, but one that I am looking forward to in particular that is getting pretty good reviews is Marty Supreme, which they just been saying that Chalamet's been knocking out of the park. I know I kind of talked about him a lot already, but he's one of the leading actors in, I think, his haters kind of need to realize that whether you like him or not, like he's one of the biggest talents coming out that is like relatively new, and we're beginning to witness his prime here.
Yeah. I was hoping that was at least one of the movies you were mentioning because I'm very excited for Marty Supreme. But yeah, if that's all you got, Jthon, I'll kick it over to myself. It's gonna be a little bit of a yap, just because I feel like a lot I want to touch on before we get into our film review. But
Go for it.
I think I'll just
I'm gonna
yeah.
try and find this one talking point that I wanted to bring up in my
Okay.
notes app if it's there.
All right. I'll start with my vacations quickly, I guess. So like I said, I've been away and traveling for 2.5 weeks. I'm sick now, so I think it caught up to me. But so I think the day I left was November 16th. I went to Orlando, Florida for a week. Um, Primarily, I was at Universal. I did one day at Disney, 4 days at Universal, 2 days at the new park. I had an absolute blast with it. I know Jthon, you've seen some pictures from my Instagram story and post, but the new park was amazing. A lot of the rides I really enjoy. My favorite like parts of the new park was the Dark Universe, which is like Frankenstein. Sorry, Frankenstein, Dracula, the werewolf, the Invisible Man, and then also the Isle of Berk, like the How to Train Your Dragon world was phenomenal too. That looked awesome. Um, while I was on vacation in Orlando, I actually went to the theater 3 times. I saw The Running Man at Universal Cinemark. It's a really big theater they have right at Universal, like right before you enter the park. The movie was all right. The cast is great. Like you get Josh Brolin, obviously Glenn Powell starring Josh Brolin, Coleman Domingo, um, Michael Cera, William H Macy, Jamie Lawson, who was in Sinners. It's like a good cast, but the film just didn't work all the way. It was fun, but a little disappointed. The next film I saw was Wicked. I saw it a couple days before it officially released on Wednesday. Packed theater when I went. It was every seat was sold out. And I gotta say I was disappointed. I liked the first Wicked a lot. This one, the story is a complete mess. I don't like how it ends. I don't like how it interweaves into the Wizard of Oz, and the musical numbers did not hit like the first one did. So it was kind of a disappointment, if I'm being honest. But it was my first time at the AMC Theater in Disney Orlando, which was really cool. That theater is massive. Like it's absolutely ridiculous. And then the third and final movie I saw while on vacation was Rental Family, which was my favorite one I saw. It stars Brendan Fraser. Let me actually get it on Letterboxd right now. Um, it's a really good movie. It's about Brendan Fraser as this kind of washed up actor who lives in Japan now, who kind of takes on this job as being a actor in real life. He pretty much people hire him and he does stuff for them, and you know it goes into this really heartwarming slash heartbreaking movie. But I really enjoyed it, and I think Brendan Fraser is really good. I think he gets a lot of unnecessary hate. I know a lot of people hated on his performance in The Whale. I like The Whale, if I'm being honest. So I think it was really good. I had a really good time with it. Um, then after Orlando, I came home for maybe 18 hours, just pretty much doing laundry and trying to catch up on some sleep. And then I went to Cancun for a week. While I was on vacation there, I, well, actually, let me mention this. While I was on vacation in Orlando, I texted Jthon this. I broke my movie watching streak. So I I pretty much had watched a movie every single day for nearly 2 years, and I finally broke it. And I said to you, Jthon, it's actually such a relief now that it's broken because I feel like the only reason why I kept it going was because I didn't want to break it. But now that I've done it, it's really nice not having to feel that pressure of watching a movie every single day. So since then, I've missed a couple days, but it's honestly a nice relief if I'm being honest. So I
I
don't think
feel
I'll ever.
like you and I have two very different philosophies when it comes to our movie watching, and
Yeah,
I'm glad that you took a much needed break, and
yeah,
I think your mental clarity will be up from here because
yeah,
wow, 2.5 years you
yeah.
said.
No, no, no. Almost 2 years. Um, I mean that doesn't mean I'm like going down to like one, two movies a week. I'm still watching a crazy amount, but now I if I miss a day, I can sleep at night and I'm not upset about it. But I used to be crazy about it, obviously. Um, but in Cancun, I watched some stuff.
I'd love to see what 2 years of movie watching has an effect on the brain, but yeah, talk about Cancun.
Yeah, when I was in Cancun, it was that was pretty much my relaxing vacation because in Orlando I was pretty much up very early in the morning and up very late at night at the Universal parks. But when I was in Cancun, I did a lot of sleeping in and just eating good food and just laying out by the pool. But I still got some movies in. I finally watched Manchester by the Sea. Actually, while I was at the airport, really enjoyed it. I was holding back tears in the airport because I didn't want to cry in front of a bunch of people. Really good movie. I've always wanted to watch it, and it just has, for whatever reason, kept slipping my mind. But it was really really good. I was expecting it to be good. So, The Green Book, another movie I've been wanting to watch for a while. I get the complaints that people have with it. Ultimately, it didn't affect me. I really enjoyed it. I think Mahershala Ali and Viggo Mortensen were both fantastic in it. Um, and then pretty much I just did a little bit of a James Bond rewatching. I watched The World Is Not Enough, Doctor No, and From Russia with Love. I really like James Bond. I love spy movies. I've mentioned that before, espionage. So it's really cool. And then just to end off the movie watching, and then I have a couple more things before we get into the film review. But I watched. Sorry, lose my voice. I watched last night Megadoc, which is the documentary of how they made Megalopolis, and I watched Megalopolis in theaters when it came out. I think it was 2 years ago now or a year ago. I forget. That movie is like the worst, best movie of all time. If that makes any sense. Like it's not good. It's garbage, but the performances are really good. It looks amazing. The idea is good. It's just the execution of it is really really bad. And this documentary just goes into it how kind of crazy the production was and the problems on set, and obviously Francis Ford Coppola is a very great director and filmmaker, but you know he's almost 90 years old now, and I mean, as good as he was, I feel like it might be time to hang it up, not to be mean, but you know I just don't think he can film and do the things he used to do at that level anymore, unfortunately. um, And then last night I watched Badlands, Terrence Malick. I bought this on Criterion collection um, a few weeks ago when I was in Orlando, actually. It's a really good movie. I gave it 3.5. Martin Sheen, I'm a big fan of him. I think he's really good. Sissy Spacek's really good in it. It's quick. It's like 90 minutes. It's one of Terrence Malick's shorter films, but yeah, I had a good time with it. Then just a couple other things I want to mention. Well, you can talk about this too as well, Jthon, because I know you bought some, but Criterion obviously has been having it sale the whole month. I've bought in a bunch, and I'll have my TikTok videos of those, doing those. But Jthon, did you want to speak on the two you grabbed? I know you grabbed at least two of them.
Yeah, you mind if I run and grab them?
Go for it. Go. Yeah.
Yeah, so we haven't really gone too much into depth on physical media here, but me and Nick love collecting and just adding to our own personal watches and to our collection. And we love physical media here. Um, if you ask us, it's the dominant way of watching movies, and I vastly prefer it to streaming. Nick knows that I have a strong advocacy against streaming services and I'm sure he feels similarly, considering he owns hundreds of films physically. But to get into Criterion, I first want to go over my collection before Black Friday, which we have Barry Lyndon, great movie. We talked about it already.
Yep.
Lost Highway, of course.
Go check out that episode if you haven't. It's probably one of our better reviews.
Mulholland Drive. Love David Lynch. And Blowout, which I need to rewatch because I don't know. I think about that movie a lot. And as for new pickups, we have Cure by Kiyoshi Kurosawa, which is that picking up?
Yep.
I've seen it all the time on Letterboxd. I honestly don't know too much about the film other than one trailer that I watched. I just thought I would enjoy it considering it's kind of like a detective film, and to be honest, Nick, I didn't think those were my type of movies until you put me on to some stuff like Michael Mann and other films, but can't wait to watch. And my other film, which I picked up because Criterion was 50% off, so I was like, you know what, you gotta get two for the price of one, is Dazed and Confused, which I'm unboxing as we speak. And this is
Did you get the 4K on both of those?
Yeah, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the physical media coming out. We have Dazed and Confused, which I'm sure you've heard about. Great cover. Haven't heard or seen too much of this film, but I love my coming of age stories. And
you haven't watched it yet?
No.
Oh, I thought you did. Oh.
But if you're not familiar with Criterion, hand out 4K Blu-rays, and they have all this supplemental material. Like, I think this is an original poster right here, which I won't open, but you get the picture, and they hand out all these little booklets containing like the cast and stuff, behind the scenes. Like, they drop essays about the film explaining why it's so culturally relevant, and we should probably do an episode solely on maybe our collections, but
I think we should definitely do an episode on our collections, but we would definitely have to narrow it down to like 10 of our favorites, or maybe 10 that are important to us, because I mean, your collection is grown and mine is
towering
in the hundreds. Yeah, I can't show off everything, but yeah, definitely.
But yeah,
and we could just explain the differences of quality as well.
Yeah, these are my Criterions. Slowly becoming my preferred way of watching movies, just out of all the mediums, but it's what I like about this industry. There's so many ways to consume it.
Yeah. I'm not going to show everything that I've bought because I don't even have that much stuff up with me right now, and I have too many Criterions to show off, but I will show this one in particular because it actually just came in the mail yesterday when I got home from New York. And I also forgot to mention that I was in New York for like 2.5 days. It's really nice there, like at Christmas time, like all the decorations and, Rockefeller Center and all that. But I was so sick on vacation. I was like, I could barely breathe. You can obviously hear me now. I'm very stuffed up. But shout out to my mom for taking us on vacation there. It was fun. But it's nice to be home now, just in the comfort of my home and, trying to nurse this cold. But all right, back to Criterion. So yesterday, my Eyes Wide Shut 4K came in. Stanley Kubrick is probably in my top 3 directors of all time. Eyes Wide Shut, I have it on Blu-ray already, like the standard Blu-ray, but I thought getting this 4K was cool because obviously Kubrick is one of my favorites, so I want like all his films in the best quality. But I really need to rewatch it, and I'm gonna be doing it actually this week because this film I wouldn't necessarily label it just as a Christmas film, but it takes place in Christmas time, and I'm desperately in need for a rewatch because I think upon rewatch it will really go up. But staying on Criterion a little bit, and then I'll try to speed this up a little bit so we can get to the film review. I love Criterion. I bought a bunch when I was in Orlando. I'm gonna save that for my own TikTok video. So if you're interested in seeing that, you can go see them. I think, like Jthon said, we should definitely do an episode about physical media. I think it would be really fun if we broke down like the quality in each. Obviously, why Criterion is like the top tier echelon, and then maybe going into some of our favorites because we definitely can't show off our whole collections. Jthon, like I said, his is growing. He's probably approaching almost like 50 something now. Mine, I can't
No,
show off all mine.
50 is
But
kind of generous, but I appreciate it. Yours is ridiculous. You would have
I
to.
couldn't show mine on camera. Mine is in between two bookshelves and a bunch of bins. I have like I'm approaching 800 movies, but I'll definitely bring some up and show off like some of my favorites and stuff like that. We can insert pictures too, I guess, too,
Yeah.
if you want to do that in the edit. But yeah,
Or you could
there's
just
only
insert a video of yourself, just kind of like with your phone, like going over it. But
yeah, we could do that too. Um, the only other thing I have on my breakdown, and I really don't want this to be a debate because I already told you I don't want to debate this with you or talk about it with you because if you don't know, I'm a big fan of Stranger Things, and I wouldn't say Jthon's not a fan, but he's been very critical in the past. But the only thing I wanted to mention, Stranger Things Volume 1 came out on, was it Thanksgiving or the night before Thanksgiving? Whatever. I watched it. I think Jthon has
I'm
watched
caught
it, or
up.
at least some of it. And I'm actually rewatching this show before Volume 2 comes out. I've already finished Season 1 and 2. I just have to finish Season 3 and 4 in the next, like, 3 weeks, which I'll get to. I really don't want to get into it. I just want to say I watched it. I'm enjoying it. If you want to say something about it, Jthon, you can, but I'm not getting into a debate now.
I don't have an opinion. Well, I do have an opinion, but I'm not gonna share it because we're only 1/3 through the season. If you don't know, they're releasing season 5 in 3 volumes. We're only through volume 1 as of this recording, but I will be voicing my opinions when it is all out. So whether he wants to entertain it or not, you guys will be hearing from me.
I think when the show ends, we could get into it, whether that's a whole episode or just like a segment.
That'd be fun.
Yeah. But yeah, and obviously we just yapped for a while. Obviously, us catching up because like I said, we haven't really spoken too much in the last 2 weeks. We've just been busy, and oh, sorry, one more thing. I wanted to talk about some December stuff that's coming up that I want to see. Obviously, Jthon mentioned Marty Supreme already. Very excited for that. That's probably my most anticipated for the rest of the year. But Avatar: Fire and Ash is coming out in 2 weeks. I already have my tickets in IMAX for that. Very excited to watch that. I'll be rewatching the second one before I go into it. There's another movie called Ella McKay. I don't know if you've heard of it, but has a lot of good actors in it. It looks just really, really heartfelt, sweet movie. So I'm excited for that. I know today, as of this recording, after we're done recording, I'm gonna go see Hamnet, which is the new Chloe Zhao movie, starring Paul Mescal and Jessie Buckley. This movie's most likely going to get nominated for a lot of Oscars, so I'm excited to check it out and see it. And I'm also seeing today Eternity. Sorry, and I don't know if you've seen any posters or trailers for that, but it's the Elizabeth Olsen movie with Miles Teller and Callum Turner.
No,
Not
but
expecting too much from it, but I'm going to see it. And then for the rest of the week, I have a pretty busy week of movie watching just to catch up on some stuff. Tomorrow I'm going to see No Other Choice, Park Chan-wook's new film. Very excited for that. Zootopia 2 at some point I'm going to see this week. I'm not sure which day, but I'm definitely going to see it. And then on Saturday, which I'm very excited for, I'm seeing Kill Bill, The Whole Bloody Affair.
I'm going to
in
make
theaters.
time to
Obviously,
see that.
yeah. Obviously, I've seen it before. Jthon's seen it before, but this is the first time they're showcasing it as one big film. So, excited for that.
What's the
Yeah,
runtime on that? 4 hours?
yeah. It's like 4 hours and 40 minutes.
It's going to fly by for me, man. It's probably my favorite Tarantino.
That's up there for me. I don't know if I can tilt my camera, but as you can see right there, I got my Kill Bill poster in my room. So it's one of just my favorite movies ever. But yeah, that's all I got for kind of what we've been up to. Jthon, if you got anything else, go for it. If not, we can start to get into the film.
I do have one talking point, but I think we'll save it for the end so we have something to talk
Okay.
about.
All right. All right. So obviously for our film review today, for the Christmas season, we're doing Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. If you saw our episode last week, we went over our top 10 Christmas movies. We both had Rudolph in our top 10s. Jthon had it a little lower for my liking, but at least he made it in the list. But yeah, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer came out 1964. Obviously, it's very iconic. There's the song, there's books of it, there's the movie. Obviously, this is the most iconic movie. There's some other movies of it as well. It's most notably known for its classic stop motion animation. Before we get into maybe some of the plot and our favorite moments or scenes, do you remember or roughly remember the first time you watched this, or maybe what makes it a top 10 Christmas film of you if you don't remember when you first watched it?
Do I remember when I first watched it? No, absolutely not. It kind of just comes pre-installed in your Christmas watching. I think it's one of the first movies you kind of check out you check out. Probably your parents put on for you when you're a kid around this time, but very iconic. It's a story everyone's heard. I kind of already went over this in my number 10 segment, but again, the animation I think is the selling point here. You don't see this style really replicated in today for many reasons, but it's a great story. Everyone has seen it, and who doesn't love Rudolph? I love the voice acting here, even though it can kind of get a little cheesy, but it fits the aesthetic of the movie and this Time Warner classic type of vibe that we got here.
Yeah. I don't know the exact moment I first watched it, but I do remember it being on TV in not the house I live in now. I've only lived in two houses my whole life. The house I lived in before when I was very young, I vaguely remember it being on like ABC or Fox or something, and I remember watching it on there probably when I was like 6 or 7 or 8 years old, something like that. But yeah, I mean, like Jthon said, it's kind of embedded into Christmas watching. Everybody has seen it, but it's one I have to come back to every single year, no matter what. I have to make sure I make time for it every December. For me, like Jthon said, the stop motion animation is the selling point for me. I'm a big fan of stop motion. Obviously, if you know me, Fantastic Mr. Fox is a top 4 film of all time for me. I love stop motion. I try to watch as much stop motion films as I can. Unfortunately, they don't make as much as they used to anymore, but I feel like it's a medium in the film space that is really, I don't want to say overlooked, because I think it does get its praise when it does happen, but I wish it just happened more so today. But yeah, obviously this is not a film that's like too big in structure and plot and everybody knows it, but is there any specific things you want to talk about at first, Jthon? If not, I have a couple notes of some stuff, but
Like you said, it's not really a medium that gets covered, and I think it's just because it's kind of a dying art. I mean, digital filmmaking has like really taken off since this movie came out, and we've seen developments in CGI and other forms of animation, and I want to say Wallace and Gromit in that kind of series are probably the torchbearers for this type of style, but I don't
Yeah.
think that means like we shouldn't make any more. But I think it works here because one, the time period, two, the story is kind of fantastical, so you needed the animation here, and I think everyone can kind of connect to it in a sense. Whether it's an older generation, I know a lot of, at least people in my family, like you couldn't really pay them to talk about animation because they much prefer live action in theater more. But I like this movie. I think everyone roots for Rudolph here, who is a red-nosed reindeer, so he's kind of like the black sheep of the crew with Santa, but he comes in clutch here, and yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. I think I've always liked it too because it's an underdog story. Because obviously, like Jthon said, he's the black sheep of the family. Obviously, and there's a lot of underdog tones in it too because of the elf that Rudolph becomes friends with Hermie. He's the kind of the black sheep of the Santa's elves as well because they're all good at making toys and all that, and he wants to be a dentist. I think that scene's really funny. That's one that always I never forget. But it's a lot of good stuff, and I feel like even as a kid, when you're a kid, a lot of the times when you watch stuff, you're really just doing it for entertainment value. You're not really maybe processing all the messages and themes of a movie. But I feel like even at a young age, I kind of recognized that this was a film that you can do what you want in your life. You don't have to do the pre-written job or idea that you're supposed to be. Obviously, Rudolph being a reindeer, he's supposed to fly for Santa, and Hermie being an elf, he's supposed to be making toys. But both of them don't subscribe to that narrative fully, and they kind of go on their own journey. And I think it's just a really cool message that, as old as this film gets, it's nearly almost 60 years old as it gets. I think it is, no, it is over 60 years old. But as old as it gets, I think the message and the theme of it will always be a timeless thing that people need to either hear for the first time or be reminded of. But I guess I don't even know if I want to call them fun facts, but maybe just some true stuff about the movie. So obviously, like we said, this is stop motion animation, and I don't. I should have done more research on this, but to my knowledge, all the puppets and figures in this were made from Japanese animators because at the time they were kind of the only ones really. I don't want to say perfected, but I guess close to perfection of this kind of filmmaking, and they called it animagic back in the day. Obviously, you just kind of call it stop motion animation now, and it took them about 18 months to do this whole film, which it's only a 45-minute film, but obviously, stop motion animation, you have to capture each movement frame by frame by frame, and I think that's really interesting. Obviously, stop motion takes a lot of time. I don't know how long it takes nowadays. I should have maybe done some comparing and contrasting because, like Jthon said, nowadays it's not as popular as it once was, but Wallace and Gromit is kind of at like the helm of that, and they just had a film that came out last year, and I wonder how long that kind of process takes because normally stop motion films aren't that long, and I know Wallace and Gromit films are around the hour mark, so it's close to this runtime of this film. Guess some other fun things. Rudolph's nose in this was just a 12-volt light bulb that they painted red.
Makes
That they
sense.
just stuck. That they just stuck on the puppet. I'm sure they had some type of wiring and something that went through his body to make it light up the whole time. Um, it was so obviously his name is Rudolph. Some early kind of script ideas and script names was either Reginald or Rollo. So I'm happy they went with Rudolph because I feel like those names are very they're not as
They're out there.
iconic. Yeah, I don't think Reginald the red-nosed reindeer would have the same kind of ring as Rudolph, but yeah, obviously, the I'm pretty sure they just produced. Yeah, the studio production company is Rankin and Bass Productions. obviously they're known for stop motion and animation back in the day. I think Rudolph is their most popular. Frosty's obviously a pretty
Well, they
iconic
have a
one as
film
well.
right next to Rudolph. What is that on
The
the
Last
left?
Unicorn.
Yeah.
I think this is pure animation. It's very early anime. Well, 82, so not it was after Rudolph, but I know a lot of people like this. I haven't seen it, but I have heard decent things about it. They've done The Hobbit. I haven't seen the animated Hobbit. I have seen one of the Lord of the Rings animated though.
I know that
Santa
is
Claus is
parodied all the time. That adaptation of The Hobbit. I don't know if you've seen Smiling Friends, but they parodied that.
no. Um, Santa Claus is Coming to Town is another really good stop motion animation to me. I watch it kind of every year. The Year Without a Santa Claus, I don't like it as much, but it's still a really good film. Mad Monster Party is a pretty fun movie. Another stop motion. I gotta say though, this film is it's pretty good time. It's good, but it's 95 minutes, but it's really boring. Like, it's incredibly boring. I don't know why it was. It should have been like no longer than 40 minutes. But like I said, the stop motion craftsmanship that the Rankin and Bass production company has done in early days of this technology is really impressive. Um, yeah, I mean, there's not much to talk about here on the story. Obviously, everybody knows the story. The song is iconic. Um, but maybe Jthon, is there any other stop motion animations that come to mind that you really enjoy, or maybe that you haven't seen yet but you want to watch in the future?
As for stop motion, maybe not like claymation like Rudolph here, but I know
Mm-hmm.
the Lego movie was huge for me when I was a child and just a lot of kids. And I really enjoy these because they're uh, not incredibly visually stimulating. Like, I don't know if you've heard of that kind of concept when you're showing children media. Like, for instance, a lot of people will show them like Dora the Explorer because it's not incredibly vibrant and fast paced and frenetic, and it kind
Mm-hmm.
of slows down the child and like makes them engage with it more because it isn't so overstimulating. But I think that's kind of why it was so huge because it was on TV, and I think one the animation is probably a lot of people's first window into that style with Rudolph, and I think it's important to keep that alive. But as for other films that use that, we talked about Nightmare Before Christmas last week. Correct me if I'm wrong, but if you're familiar with the film Monster House, is that CGI or is that stop motion? Because
I'm pretty sure that's like computer generated animation.
okay, never mind then.
It does look stop motion though.
Right, just from the uh, character designs, but
Mm-hmm.
we have a ton here. Let's see, Paranorman. I haven't seen that film, but I remember seeing the advertising for it. I think it was pretty huge. Same with Frankenweenie back in the day.
I saw both of those in theaters as a kid. I really like both of them a lot. Yeah.
Corpse Bride is something that's been on my watch list forever. Um, let's see. Could you scroll down a little bit?
Yep. I know Mad God is not one I've seen, but I really want to watch it. This one, I've seen it a bunch on Letterboxd, and people say it's really good. Junkhead's pretty good too. I saw this before. The story wise, it's kind of boring and it's a little long. It's hour and 40 minutes. Um, but the stop motion is fantastic. Like I don't know, I think it's a Japanese company that made this, but it's really fascinating how good the stop motion is. And there's a lot of action in this one as well, which I feel like is really hard to do in stop motion.
I'm looking up this film right now because it just came to mind to me, and
Hmm.
I don't know if you've seen this, but I'm just gonna throw it out there. The Adventures of Mark Twain, which I want to say I watched in eighth grade English, but this is stop motion.
Oh wow.
If you're not familiar with Mark Twain and his stories, very poetic. Uh, it kind of deals with him like teaching these two kids his kind of philosophy, which if you're familiar with Mark Twain, he was kind of an existentialist, but it deals with some heavy subject matter. Like I'll show this to you off the recording, but there's there's this one segment in the film that's like really creepy, and I don't know if it has like biblical symbology, but it heavily deals with deception and okay, I'll like kind of go into it. So they like go on this ride, right? Like you can't really see it from Nick's webcam covering the poster, but they get in this hot air balloon and they kind of travel to all these different stories and anecdotes, and it gets really, I guess, avant-garde, but they go to this one area and they find this mask, and he kind of has like this god complex, and it really starts to delve into creation. And I'm not going to spoil it too much, but that scene is incredibly creepy and unsettling, and I think it's really interesting. Probably not the best for like Christmas or showing to your family, but I think it's really mature and I really enjoy what it has to say. Nick, this is something that I would check out on your free time if you have the chance.
Yeah, I added to the watch list.
86 minutes, it's not going to kill you. Uh, but yeah, I enjoyed it when I first watched it, and I would come back to this. I don't even think I have that marked on Letterboxd, but I don't know what made me come to mind, but I liked
It
it
looks good.
when I first watched it.
Yeah. The last one I kind of want to mention, obviously, like I said, my favorites are Fantastic Mr. Fox, Isle of Dogs, Wes Anderson stuff, but another really, really great one that's in my favorite movies of all time list is Anomalisa. Um, this movie is like, unfortunately, really relatable to me. It's just about a guy that has, his connection to people is not what it once was. He really is kind of a loner. He has a family, but he's a guy that kind of thrives in isolation more. Um, it's really really good. It's I just stumbled upon it one day. When I first got Letterboxd actually, which was like 2.5 years ago. I didn't know anything about it. I literally just saw it on the app. I saw that it was stop motion. I put it on, and I was kind of like shell shocked for the rest of the day. I couldn't believe how amazing this like 90-minute film was. I really recommend this one because I feel like it's not too popular, and I think if you're a fan of stop motion, you should watch. I mean, the stop motion animation in it is good, but it's nothing crazy. It's not like a Junkhead or Fantastic Mr. Fox. There's not like a lot of action. There's not a lot of characters. There's very few characters, in fact, but the story in it is flawless. Just really good stuff. But yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a whole lot on Rudolph we can get into that we already haven't. Obviously, it's very iconic. Everybody's seen it. I really love it. All the characters, the Abominable Snowman, Sam the Snowman, what's his name, Yukon Cornelius. It's just great. I can't wait to watch it this year. like I said, it's a must watch every single year, no matter what. But yeah.
Okay. So I kind of want to hear your thoughts on this. So last week, I want to say, before we went to Thanksgiving break, if I didn't mention this already, I work in a production office. So I work with a lot of people who are familiar with cameras and like film stuff. It's an internship. We were talking about, and one of my coworkers was talking about their Vegas trip. It kind of spiraled off into this, but he mentioned he met one of his favorite directors for a show that he watches, and he mentioned, he asked him what is like the biggest piece of advice you could give to a director, to his guy, which I'm blanking on the name, but he said that you have to make a lot of perfect decisions in very little amount of time, which isn't exactly what he said, but it was along those lines. And I kind of disagreed with him there in like, or sorry, it was the most important thing a director has to do. And he said it was making a set amount of like good amount of decisions in very little time, which, I mean, he's not wrong, but I bring this up because I differ in philosophy, I guess, and I thought it was worth mentioning. And I said I disagree. I think your number one priority as a director is protecting your vision at all costs. And I I know you're not really a filmmaker, Nick, but I was
Hmm.
kind of wondering what your 2 cents on this were, and what you kind of like think I'm going for here when I say you have to protect your vision at all costs versus something more technical on his
I
beliefs with directing.
I think you're right to most of the degree. I think also as a director, you are, in my opinion, I think the director is the head honcho of um, a production, whether it's like a film, TV show, short film, whatever. I think, yeah, you have to preserve your idea and artistic direction of whatever you're making, but at the same time, I think you do have a responsibility as well to make sure everybody feels safe, and also to make sure everybody feels, the word I'm looking for here, I don't want to say um, creatively in control, but in a way that they feel like they can contribute as well. Obviously, when you're the director, most of the time when people direct, they're either the writer of the script, or they've had some good influence on it. For the most part, obviously some directors don't write, but of course you want things to go your vision in your way. But at the same time, whether it's crew members, DPs, actors, whatever, you also want to make sure that they're have some type of process in it as well. Obviously, you have to tell them what to do and guide them, but at the same time, like I said, you don't want to make them feel shoehorned in. And I think what the guy was saying, or whatever director that was, you said he said something like you have to make a lot of perfect decisions.
With very little
I think
time.
the very little time thing I agree with, but perfect decisions, I mean, I don't even know how you quantify that. How do you perfect in your mind could mean awful garbage in somebody else's mind. So I don't know if I really understand that. And obviously, like you said, I'm not a director at all. I have no aspirations of it. I know nothing about it. I feel like you could speak to it better than I could, but I don't really see where he's coming from that standpoint, if I'm being honest.
Maybe I'm like being like a little what's the word? Not ambitious, but like idealistic in my philosophy here, but I think as someone who has been on set, as someone who was on set last week with the production, I was not the director, but my idea here is that if you are not the director, then the vision of the plot isn't really your business unless you're an executive producer or something. And I don't think that you really have say in some of that stuff because you said the director's the head honcho to an
Mm-hmm.
extent. I think they handle everything going on set. I think they're responsible for getting all the shots they needed that day and making sure they can coordinate everyone in the team to get those. But ultimately, the people who handle the production and are responsible for the the shoot are the producers and whoever's paying for the movie. That's
Yeah.
who's really responsible. But as when it comes to my philosophy, yes, part of directing is making those split second decisions. Part of directing is making sure you have a film despite all the hiccups that you might run into along the way. And if you know anything about filmmaking, that is just inevitable. Um, I wouldn't say I completely disagree with his sentiment there, but I bring it up because I've seen a lot of videos on set of like people like David Lynch or just any other director freaking out because they think a scene's too long and they need to get that next shot, which if you're a DP, that's your job, making sure that next shot is lined up. So I get it. There's a lot of stress involved in just making sure everything goes to plan, but my belief in if I'm on your set, I will adhere to your philosophy. Maybe I'll have my 2 cents on the plot or what we could change the shot for. But if I'm on your crew, I'm here to serve you as a
Mm-hmm.
crew member. You know, I don't think it's really appropriate for me to interject and be like, no, like we shouldn't do this because you're the director and you have to protect that vision because that's the most important thing as a director for me because especially if you're a writer director you have to translate that idea onto paper which is already hard enough so when you bring it on the set it's like a whole new ball game because now you're shooting stuff and you have to plan around that so I thought it was something interesting. I know you're not too versed in the filmmaking world but maybe from an audience member's perspective and just someone who enjoys films, I just wanted your 2 cents on that because I thought it was an interesting point.
Yeah. No, I definitely. I mean, yeah, I don't know the ins and outs, but yeah, I think it's interesting. But like I said, it's a little tough for me to speak on it just because I don't have any experience or even like witnessing that in real time. So, but I mean, it is kind of similar to what I watched last night, the documentary on Megalopolis. Like, Francis Ford Coppola is obviously in charge of that. He was the production company, he was the director, he was the writer, so he had like multiple hats. But he did run into a lot of problems with mainly actors wanting to do certain things, but also some crew members wanting to do certain things, and it didn't line up for him. And he pretty much at the end of the day like kind of strongholded the situation. Was like, no, we're doing it this way.
Yeah, if I'm like a crew member, I'm here to serve your vision. Like
Mm-hmm.
you might you might need some help. Your vision might not be perfect, but I'm here to execute that. And again, it's the most important thing you have to protect because if you forget why you're here shooting this film or like you lose that spark that brought you to this idea, then you shouldn't be filming it in the first place.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that is the bulk of our episode today. Obviously, this is the second week of December. This episode is dropping. I know we will at least do one more Christmas themed episode. We'll probably pick another film to review, but maybe, I mean, obviously we're going to discuss it more. Maybe on our um, other episode of December, we'll either do a film review or maybe it is a good time to maybe do the physical media thing. We'll make a decision obviously soon. Um, Hopefully this episode was enjoyable. I know we yapped in the beginning a lot, not entirely movie related, but like I said, I think it was good for us just to catch up and, you know, talk a little bit before the film review. I'm just excited to be back recording again. Like I said, it's been over 2 weeks since we last recorded. I'm back to movie watching, back at home, back to the theaters, which is nice. And then I'm very excited for the end of the year because I feel like we have a lot of cool episodes we can do. Like, I'm sure we're going to do our top 10 films of 2025. We'll do, once the Oscars and award season starts to roll around, we're going to do our predictions on that, I'm sure. Just, you know, a lot of good stuff I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, a great time of year. I think either next episode or the episode after will be my last episode in this background we have here. So I'll be moving out of here pretty soon. Then
Oh,
I'll
yeah.
be back in Massachusetts. So you'll see that set pretty soon. I hope you enjoyed the background noise and let us know what your favorite Christmas present is. Maybe we'll talk about that next episode, some like memorable gifts and stuff. But enjoy the holidays, get some hot cocoa. I know Dunkin' Donuts does that for like maybe $1.20. I don't know. And last time I worked there was around COVID. And yeah, enjoy break.
Peace.